team. We are back with another Ramp Careers Daily Update. Today, I am here with Manoj. Manoj, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Danny. I'm dressed like a flamingo for today.
Nice. We're not matching today. I don't actually have that color clothing, but I will pick one up so that we can match in a future episode.
That's awesome. At the end of the call, I think I'm going to come and hang out by your yard. You can pay me by the hour. I'll just pretend like I'm a bird.
I love it. I love it. Well, we want to deviate from the typical topic of the day to talk about how Manoj secured his first job, the interview process, what it was like, how he felt, and obviously we know the outcome. So I want to jump in here. Manoj, set the stage for us. So it's 2008. You had just graduated from Worcester State, and you're in the heat of one of the worst economic crises of all time, and you're thinking, what?
What do I do? Actually, the story started a bit before that. I think I had the foresight to start looking for opportunities way before just the way I am. I had actually started to plant the seeds for getting myself in front of prospective employers at the end of 2007, actually. So fall semester, my senior year, and I only went to school for 2 years. I'm going to brag on that for a second. I actually completed the entire program in 2 years. So I didn't really have the conventional freshman, junior, senior. It was just 2 years, and then I got the whole damn thing done. So started to explore what my options would be. The reality was that I had just moved to the US from India, ended up at Worcester State, was commuting from home, didn't take the SATs, got into the school that would just take me just based on transcripts from my high school in India, and I had started about 3 months of college or so, and then I just moved, right? And so kind of going back, I knew what the realities were graduating from Worcester State, great school, and I was very ambitious, and I knew that I wanted to kind of go into investment banking, and I thought that that's the path that I need to take back then, which I ended up doing after taking the longer circuitous route, but I had a feeling that my opportunities were limited, so I started speaking with folks in the business school and also with our career services department, said, hey, what should I do to give myself a fighting chance of landing a job? And I think, the economy was starting to show signs of distress. When I graduated in 2008, things were bad, but fall semester of 2008, you could already start to see signs of things going poorly. And so I was told that my options were to either be a CPA or be an actuary. And those were the only two jobs that I could get graduating out of there. I graduated top of my class, and still those were the only options that were out there. It was either that or I'll go and find something else to do. So I said, sure, fine, I'll do that. I went to Staples and I got, like that good quality paper that's a little bit of a yellow tint to it, and it's got some
the cardstock paper.
Cardstock paper. So I got 75 of those, and I wrote a cover letter and a resume, and I printed them out on all these sheets. Got about 50 stamps, and literally mailed my cover letter and resume to local CPA firms and the national firms.
Did you spritz them with cologne to make it?
Nothing with cologne, but I did sign individually, like my cover letter at the end. Like I would actually take a pen and I'd sign it. No touch. And man, I mailed it to a bunch of firms, and this was in fall semester, saying, hey, I'm about to graduate. I'm doing really well in school. Being a CPA is my passion in life. God, back then I literally needed a job, and I would have said anything. And I didn't know that was exciting or interesting. I just wanted to get a job, man. I went to school for business, and that was the option available. I wasn't going to be bummed, right? So kind of sent a bunch of letters out, and then I just wait in anticipation, hoping that someone would call me or someone would email me. And one person finally was interested, and set up some time with me. I was super excited. I wore a suit that I think I didn't carry myself really well in a suit back then. It was just like uncomfortable and clunky. Showed up in a suit in the middle of the day. This old school public accounting firm in Worcester, family owned. I was starstruck, man. This was in the center of town. I wore a suit, was going in, thinking it was an interview. And I guess it was, but this guy just, liked my hustle. And I go in all excited, and the first thing he says is, I'm going to be honest with you. Even if you could walk on water, I won't be able to give you a job.
Oh, God.
I don't have a job to offer, but I liked your approach. So, I thought I should talk to you. And in the back of my mind, I was so disappointed, dejected. But drawing a parallel, I do feel like sometimes you schedule these demos with your prospects. And listen, even if you could walk on water, these guys are never going to buy from you. Like, oh, I like your hustle. Let me just talk and spend time with you. I guess people like that still exist. And it was a practice interview. I did my spiel and I left, but someone bit from that approach and did get my first interview, my second interview. And so I was able to land a job right around spring semester with a September start date just by going through this process. I must have applied to a ton of public accounting firms, man. I mean, I'd take informational interviews. I would do this, mailing approach. I'd ask professors to introduce me, but it was a lot of work. It was not easy. And I didn't think that, and that never changed. Even if after my first job, like that's been the approach that I've taken up until my most recent gig.
Let's walk through the process there, because I think there's a lot of good nuggets, and good on you for hustling and grabbing all of these, grabbing the card stock, putting pen, like physical pen to paper, and cracking through the noise that is the hundreds or thousands of resumes that were definitely coming through, at that time in the middle of, the economic crisis. Obviously, you need to do something to stand out. Also, eerily familiar because I had investment banking interviews in 2009, and I spoke about this with Mitch, but I would go into the room and somebody would be sitting on the other side of me dressed in a suit. I was dressed in a suit, and they'd say the same thing, like, "Hey man, look, we don't have any jobs, but we're doing this to save face with the University of Michigan." I'd be like, "What am I here for? Why am I doing this?" But let's walk through your funnel. So you had approximately, I know this a while ago, but approximately how many outbound resumes sent out to get to how many interviews to get to that end result, which was your first
Yep.
job at an accounting firm?
75 companies, 3 interviews, if you count the other quirky one where they didn't really have a job. 3 interviews and 1 off. These were the odds that I was stacked against. Remember, again, graduating with a 3.98 GPA, completing a 4-year degree in 2 years. Those were my stats. I was very aware of it. And I say this because I think it's important to have a dose of pragmatism in reality at any given point in life. That never changed. I feel like even though later down the road, like I went to a much better school and graduated with a JD, my attitude has never changed. It doesn't change even now. I know that we're out there trying to connect with other sales leaders and get in front of them, but my attitude still remains the same. Nobody gives a shit, man, about like you or your accomplishment. Nobody gives a shit. They
Right.
don't, right? Until they do. It's funny how life works. It's not people give no shit and then some shit and then a lot of shit. It's just like no one cares, no one cares, no one cares, no one cares, and then at some point you've made it and then everybody cares. Right?
Yeah,
It's very binary.
the switch has been flipped.
Yeah, so my point is that I think you have to do that amount of work. There's no other way of getting anywhere in life. You simply have to put in the hours and you simply have to go through the grind.
Great insight. Walk me through the one interview that actually ended up sticking. What was that like? Tell me a little bit more about your process going into it, and I guess how you were feeling in the moment. You'd been seemingly rejected 74 other times. Like, that's got to be some painful realities you're dealing with in the moment.
Well, they never got back to me, so I don't know that. In my mind, if someone never got back to me, that wasn't a rejection. They were just not interested. But I, one of the things that I think stuck well with this particular firm that did give me an offer, I'm very grateful for it. Incredible experience, and quite honestly, fortunate to be able to have a job back then when things were just not working well. One of the things that I did well was I made it a point to do all the standard things that, sending thank you emails after interviews. But one of the things that I think I did well was there were a couple of folks at that firm that were hired from Worcester State in the past. One of the things that I did was get to really know them and get to really connect with them, talk about shared experiences around Worcester State. And I think that helped, because first job out of college, once you get through the grades, once you get through the interview, what else is there that's left, right, for them to have some kind of a lasting memory of you? And I think finding that connection really did help. And I think that's what we encourage, kind of our fellows to do as well, is see if you can connect with the interviewer. If you went to the same school, great. I think they'll give you something to talk about. And I think that worked really well in hindsight. Of course, you have to do all the other stuff. I wouldn't focus too much on things that you're expected to do and you should do well. It's these other intangibles, right? Doing that extra effort and digging around, speaking to them during the interview context, keeping in touch with them shortly thereafter, not just in the form of a thank you note, but trying to get a pulse on how things are going. Oh, one of the things that I did was I started asking questions around when can I get my subsidy? I'm going to start taking the CPA exams even before I come in to work on my first day. Let me pass. It's a 4-section test. So I'm like, let me pass the section, because it usually takes a long ass time. These are long and hard. And I think they like that. They like that proactivity. So I was just finding like these little avenues to demonstrate my interest in the job, but also to show that I'm really committed to it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is a few key themes here, which we like to talk about. We like to teach as well. One, persistence, right? You have to play that I'm going to get the job done at whatever cost it is. Two, is preparation. Like you knew your target audience, you knew their backgrounds, where they went to school, what they cared about. They cared about obviously you being an exceptional worker, but also that you wanted to take the CPA as fast as possible. And then just straight up like hustle above. And then three is making yourself stand out amongst the crowd. Like I cannot imagine everybody went into this interview process printing their resumes, printing their cover letters out on cardstock, signing individual ones, making connections through professors. I think that was something that you frankly did above and beyond your peer group, and it helped separate you from the noise. What am I missing? What are the other key takeaways that you demonstrated or you did that helped you stand out and grab that first job?
Yeah, head start too, right? I had the advantage of time. This is going to be hard to do if you wait until after you graduate. I had the benefit of time. I started doing it in fall semester. Was it extra work? Yeah, sure. But I had 7, 8 months ahead of anybody else. And by the time they made me an offer, right? And the economy was getting worse and worse and worse, and they were trying to dial back on hiring. So anyone that had waited up until that point would run into trouble, right? So I think that's another thing is time is also a strange thing where if you're proactive and you give yourself enough of wiggle room and enough of time, it's an advantage. You're not, comes and bites you. It adds to stress that not exist otherwise. So I would say volume of work, volume of activity, no substitute to it. Proactivity, use time to your advantage and start early. No substitute to it. Attitude as well, just getting used to it's okay. Not everyone's going to. I think that funnel made sense for me intuitively. I just almost assumed that not everyone's going to give me an offer. This is how it's going to work. And I've
Yeah.
never let that phase me, and I still don't care. I mean, to me, it's always going to be a funnel. There's that. I wish that there's like a magic bullet. I know I spoke with one of our fellows today, and one of the discussions that we were having was, hey man, like I get nervous during these interviews. Like, what should I do? And my answer is the only tool that you have in your toolkit is just over preparing. If you know everything that there is that you can possibly learn about the company, their product, their customer, their value proposition, why they exist in the market today, that is what's going to ease your nerves during an interview. I wish I could tell you that there's this magic word or this magic framework that you can follow, and people kind of grasp at tricks and tips, but there isn't any. Red stuff, it doesn't work. The only tip and trick that does work is just brute forcing your way in, putting in the damn hours, right? And it's painful and it's annoying. But the good thing is, you need to know going in that you're doing it and a lot of other people are not.
Well, I think we can wrap there. This has been exciting, insightful, and still some of the things that you did today, whether you knew it in the moment or not, whether they were structured or not, can be helpful to not only our fellows, but folks looking for any entry level, any career, actually, any job opportunity, not just entry level. Tons of great key takeaways, Manoj. Thanks for sharing that story with us. And we will catch you tomorrow on another Ramp Careers Daily Update. Have a good one, everybody. Talk soon.
Right, Danny?
See ya.